What am I even dealing with here, chat?
That's a great question. Hey, did y'all hear?
He turns the camera on, and I'm eating a blueberry donut.
He told me that I'm allowed to eat at the same time. Isn't that right, Jason?
Yeah, something like that. We went out to Harvey Weinberger for lunch today. It was Brennan's 3-year anniversary.
3 years?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, shout out. One of the OGs.
Brennan is the guy in production that makes sure all our models get printed correctly.
Yeah. He is excellent. Hey, welcome in, everybody. It is a beautiful, what day is it?
Hello.
Tuesday.
Dose day.
Amp Color Lunch.
Lunch?
Lunch? Launch.
That's how Far Out Space Nuts started.
Launch. Lunch? I should have said.
That's how Far Out Space Nuts. You ever watch Far Out Space Nuts?
No.
My God.
I haven't.
Far Out Space Nuts was like one of the Sid and Marty Krofft things, I think.
Okay.
And it was like a 30-minute serial, episodic, crazy thing in the vein of Sigmund and the Sea Monsters,
Okay.
Wonder Woman and Dyna Girl, stuff like that.
I have no idea.
And Far Out Space Nuts was these two klutzy dudes who worked for NASA who were like cleaning the ship. And they were cleaning like the spaceship.
Okay.
The rocket on the pad, which, I mean, that was a horrible premise anyway.
Because
it's not like they send janitors in to clean rockets.
Okay.
But they were in the cockpit where the astronauts would be, and they're cleaning things or dropping things, or maybe they were technicians or something. And they're up there, and one of them goes, hey, you know, it's about time to break for lunch. And he goes, hit the lunch button. He goes, something about lunch. He goes, launch, and he hits the launch button, and it launched him into space. I see. So they got launched into space.
I am now understanding your reference.
So you say launch. Launch?
It's our launch day.
Launch day.
It's AMP Colors launch day. Lunch day, whatever you want.
Far Out Space Nuts. Go look it up. Probably watch it on YouTube. Brayton says, do you need a software engineer? What do you engineer?
Oh, there you go. That was quick. Brayton. There it is.
Can you make you make apps? Can you make API web hook apps and things? I'm just talking words. I don't even know what I'm saying.
Have you heard about the yardstick factory? News says they won't be making them any longer. Oh, there it is. No. Wow, what a day.
Michael Holt says, that's why I saw a question about mixing and blending different brands of paint. I brought up a question I have. Can you use Army Painter or Vallejo with Noosh? You can, but why?
Oh, a deeper question, Michael Holtz. A deeper question.
Yeah, all of our mediums are, I would say that nothing is formulated specifically. That's not really true. We formulate all of our mediums for use with Pro-Acryl. Does that mean they will not work with other paints? No. It may mean that you will not get the exact same results as you will with Pro-Acryl, because the Pro-Acryl formula is enough different from every other hobby paint that it does act differently, right? But it is not meant to strictly work with us. So there is no sabotage involved. You should be able to use it with any water-based acrylic.
Yeah.
You do all the buzzwords, says Brayton. Of course, I do all the buzzwords.
All the buzzwords.
I do anything.
Hi-ho.
What kind of program do you do? All of it. Do you really, though? Can you program in COBOL? I just want something on the monument site to be in COBOL. Or like BASIC. What can we do in BASIC anymore? You make something in BASIC?
In BASIC?
Yeah.
Here's a question from Big Bob. Is it okay to use Pro-Acryl in my pastel for...
Plastisol.
Plastisol for soft plastic lures?
It should be. The dilution... So the dilution of a water-based paint into certain... resins and things like that should not have a problem, but always test it. Right? Always test it. Ghost Hunter says, if you're hiring software engineers, I'll program in BASIC, COBOL, and Fortran. Hey, wait, whoa. We can't afford somebody that knows BASIC, COBOL, and Fortran. Oh my God. One time I tried mixing Noosh with some AK paint, and somebody showed up to hit me with a giant paintbrush. Well, I didn't mention the dude with the giant paintbrush. I was trying to keep that secret, right? But yeah, so can you use other brands' paint with our mediums? Sure.
Yeah.
Are you also the one responsible for anything that happens after? Also sure. So just be careful. Lock your doors.
Use our paint.
Turn the lights off. Or just use Procryl, and then you can leave the windows open, and everybody will just sing melodies to you. Right?
Yes, Flapjack Nickelsack, the DA300.
I have the Rogue Hobbies orange red, but I see one of the new ones is red orange. Is there even a difference between those two? Well, yes, one of them's red and one of them's orange. Duh.
Science.
It says it's in the name. Adjectives and nouns. Orange red is a red. Red orange is orange. It really is that way. I can show them next to each other. Red orange.
Actually, it's funny. Somebody had mentioned that yesterday.
Orange red.
Jordan showed this exact example.
Yeah, orange and red. So this is red orange, which just means it has more of a red lean of the orange. Orange being a red and a yellow, and then orange red just moving back to more of an orangey form of red. Right, so it also moves towards yellow. So they're just coming at there. Eventually, these would meet and be the same color. But as we do it, the way that our naming works is that the first one, in most cases, in some cases, it's not just because of the wording, is going to be the way that this color, the red, trends to orange. This orange trends to red. And we knew when we made these, it was kind of tongue in cheek. We knew that this was going to cause people with OCD a little bit of problem. So. And we've had people be like, "Why are you trying to sell us the same colors under a different label?" And I have to show them that that's not the case. We're just being mean.
You're just being mean.
We're just being mean.
Chat, that is the link to the landing page, which will take you to the AMP colors where you can get them if you haven't already. Today we launched the AMP colors. Check them out.
If we program in BASIC, it has to be straightforward and linear.
Yep.
I can remember trying to do graphics in BASIC where you were like having to tell it to do a bunch of points from this to this in vectors. So we can get pink hot. Yes. All you have to do is rub it fast.
You can get pink hot. Nice.
Rub it faster.
Which means the color is hot? Question mark.
DM Pawn has it right. Yeah, that's a good color. That's a good workup right there. Thanks for the explanation. Sure. No problem. Looking forward to trying out the new paints. They're all awesome. As someone with AUDHD, those kind of paint naming drive me insane. I get the meaning, but it makes my brain itchy. Yeah. I love it when people say their brain is itchy. So I always tell you to think about sandpaper.
Sandpaper. Itchy. Oh, he's blinking. What are you...
I told him to think about sandpaper.
Why would...
Concentrate on sandpaper. If your brain's itchy, that'll scratch it. Scratch the itch.
I guess that's true. Focus on sandpaper.
Focus on sandpaper. It's like when you have the hiccups. You just have to relax. Calm down.
You're not a nice
You're
man.
not a nice man.
I get it. I got that one. All right. Everybody calm down.
Oh. I do the first one for free. The next ones you guys have to pay for.
The lookings for free.
You'll pay generally with a little bit of your sanity.
How much is your sanity worth, Jason?
One little notch at a time. How much is my sanity worth?
How much is your sanity worth?
A lot, because I don't have it anymore, so it's very rare.
Everything has a price.
You'd have to ask the people that stole it from me.
Oh. Who was?
Christopher. Like Christopher.
Me.
Like Christopher.
Not
that
big
dad-gummed Christopher. So what does dadgummit mean? Can somebody help me with this one? This is one I've never looked up. What does dadgummit even come from?
Dadgummit?
Like.
Let me, okay.
And like dang. These are just things that people, because damn was a curse word. Is that it?
I'm actually looking up now.
Dadgummit.
Oh, it means GD or dang. Use the express the mild. Oh, okay. It's just another word.
It's just because people didn't want to say GD it.
Yep, that's right. We run a tight ship here. This is a rated G stream.
Mild frustration. Instead of saying curse words, I'm going to go, I am mildly frustrated at the moment.
I like that.
expletive of mild frustration.
It makes it more interesting.
It's very wordy.
Come up with something more interesting. I always
It's
say.
very wordy. I don't know if I can remember to do that all the time, but I would like to. I would like to think that I have the wherewithal to where whenever I was just going to say God, that I just go mildly frustrated expletive here.
I am very upset at this moment.
I'm very upset right now. Dadgummit is a U.S. euphemism for God damn it. It's a spoonerism. Is that a word?
Spoonerism. Ah. Oh.
Dadgummit. God. Oh, of course it is.
Yep.
Yeah, we just replaced the vowels. All right.
There it is. God bless America. Sold.
Or
there
replace
it is.
consonants.
Slow Speed Studios.
Dadgummit.
Thank you for that explanation.
Oh, they replaced consonants, not vowels. That's weird.
Oh, yes. Okay, Jason.
Huh? What? What I do?
What do I say on stream?
It burns my bacon.
What do I say on stream?
Chaps my buttocks.
We've lost it.
We just need to do this all day.
Dadgummit.
Dadgummit, that chaps my buttocks.
Get off the train. Howdy ho.
Howdy ho.
Howdy ho, pilgrims. We're going to go mine for gold. Yeah. Jason likes that one. Well, there we go.
Oh my God. Those of you who know Christopher and what he looks like, this is like not the voice. This is one of those where you're like, did that just come out of Christopher? Because that's coming out of Christopher right now. I'm here. I'm seeing it.
Oh, no.
I'm seeing it.
Oh, it's my old prospector
I'm
voice.
knife-handing Christopher. That's happening right there.
I use it to make fun of people.
I my eyes.
The old prospector. Go get some gold.
I'm perturbed.
Prospector Christmas sushi. Yeah, there we go.
Spoonhandle says, and now I've learned the word spoonerism and I approve for obvious reasons. This has made your life better.
Firing off an email to my local store to put the amp colors out on the shelf. Nice. Aside from wanting to get my hands on the new paints, I'm wanting them to succeed with the line, so they stocked up. They hopefully stocked the full range. Nice. Man,
we sent out another email on Friday letting the stores know that they can sell it before street date.
Yeah.
So if they were just building up FOMO, you should shake your finger at them. You could wiggle your finger at them.
Wiggle that finger.
And say, Monument said you could have sold them to me on Friday.
That's right. Hey, speaking of that, if y'all didn't know, here's a link to our new amp colors. You've seen them before? The AMP colors.
We made new colors, Chris?
We did.
No.
We did.
No
You can
way.
see all of them
No
right there.
way.
The Cosmic Paint sets.
No way.
Set 1 and set 2. 18
Lies.
colors, everybody.
Lies. This man's a liar. We don't have anything new.
And for all of you who didn't know, this workup was using gray green, I believe. You glazed this thing with gray green.
Some gray green. And right now, bright warm gray.
Bright gray. Excellent color.
Christopher, it's been
A long time.
how many days since I painted? 3?
3? I think so, because you were here on Friday, then we had Baby J, and now we have you on a Tuesday afternoon, April 8th.
It's been 3 days, and I'm surprised I remember what I was doing.
I was
The
surprised
older I get, I'm going to turn 55 this year, folks.
When? When's your birthday?
May 30, people.
May 30th.
May 30th.
On your calendars.
Mark your calendars, because that's going to be a day to remember.
A huge day. More product launches with the real Jason. Hey, you know what I came up with the other day? You'd appreciate this, and there's something on its way, which should be at my home right now as we speak. What do I say, Jason, quite often on stream? Just take a
we
wild...
the people.
Well, that's a given, yes. We as in we the people. Us the people.
You say things that annoy me. Is that the answer you're looking for?
Second right answer, yes.
Okay.
I say we need to get this back on the tracks, right?
Back on the tracks. We need to put this train back on the tracks. I need to put these wheels back on the machine.
What did I get in the mail? I got a little wooden choo-choo whistle.
Oh, my God.
And I'll use it when we need to focus up, chat. When we need to get this train back on the tracks.
What that really means is he'll use it when he has completely defocused us.
I know. And
wants to blame somebody else.
It's my reset, really. It's for you It's for you, the people, not we, the people. It's for Jason and the other people. It's mainly to get me back to center.
Oh boy.
Hey, this is a good looking model.
It's a
It's a
I don't know what
quadrilla.
it is. I don't know what it is because it has like little T-Rex arms and then it's a horse. So it's a horse.
It's a
Rex.
It's not a quadrilla.
It's not a quadrilla.
I just like that word.
Quadrilla?
Quadrilla. There's a monster in PoE 2, the quadrilla.
Uh-oh. Oh, that's right. The big gorilla with 4 arms.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing that comes and like
Yes.
absolutely wrecks you the first
Yes.
time you play through, right?
Yeah.
Have you been playing again?
No, I'm done.
Okay, good.
They destroyed my fun build.
Oh, did they?
Like into the ground. Until they change it, I can't. It's not happening. Not happening, chat. They destroyed my minion build. I was having a great time. Now it's gone. It's not good. I was actually excited, but then I wasn't, because then I saw a bunch of videos. Minions nerfed. Minions in the ground. Buried my minions. Does my minion build still work? I'm like, oh no, this can't be good. They nerfed them. I can't have all my little skellies anymore.
What?
I had a build where, because they apparently they were always not going to have the skeleton warrior off of your scepter. They had it as a skill. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to use that instead of the other skeletons. So I had put a lot into that gem, and then they switched it over to skeletal archer. So now all of those gems I corrupted and got the extra bits on are all archers. I'm like, dang it.
Have you even tried it?
I tried it. My whole build is like totally.
The archers just aren't good.
Yeah, it is. It is going to require a lot of changes that I have to do. But there are nerfs across the board from what I heard. So I understand that. I would just have to literally redo a lot of it. But it's more for the fun that I was really liking with the warriors.
Basically what Chris is saying is that they stole the fun from him.
They stole the fun. That's right. Now I understand why. I can see both sides to this coin.
Don't be positive. Just tell him.
Don't be
you stole
positive.
from me.
You did.
You bastages.
Oh, they received a support email. You want to know what the subject line was? Where do you get off?
Where do you get off? I gave you my hard-won capital.
That's right.
And you made promises
They might actually
that you didn't
rebuff them.
keep.
It sounds like, because they nerfed them a lot. That's okay. I have other things to do, chat. I have many other things.
What other things?
I've been painting.
You've been painting. All right, cool. What are you painting?
Right now,
Gargants?
my second one's almost done.
Uh-huh.
Fully done.
Okay.
And then I've got a couple of those Moonstone models.
Uh-huh.
And I finished.
Oh, at Adepticon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I finished up a couple of them just really quick.
Okay.
So I've been doing that.
Okay. Awesome.
I needed a little break from the Gargants, and now I'm back on the Gargants.
Baby J painted some free blades. Well, I guess he just painted the monster,
Yesterday
right?
he did.
Yesterday?
Yep. Uh-huh.
But I have a whole free blades warband I want to paint.
Yeah. I have those little objective markers from there. So I like painting stones.
Really? You?
I do.
No
I do
way.
like. I'm gonna switch over to my. Either Earthworm Jim diorama or redoing all of my terrain.
Did you find a supplier for Earthworm Gem bits?
I've been looking online and I've found a couple really cool head STLs.
Okay, cool.
That I want.
That Chance can print up for you?
Yeah, but one of them is on a bust, so I'm gonna have to
cut it off.
Yep, I'm gonna have to cut it off or like just
cut the head off.
Luckily with Earthworm Jim, it's just a little worm head on a big body, so you could just splice it however you want.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking for right now.
You could make it out of green stuff and prove to the world that you know what you're doing.
Well, I did see one person did do that, and it is cool. I would just have to really practice that. I could do that, though.
Chat, do you think Chris could sculpt an Earthworm Gem head?
It would take me quite an attempt.
What if we made that a stream where I taught you how to sculpt?
I mean, the answer is yes. That would be really good, actually. That would be my preference. And then obviously I've got he's going to be fighting. I figured it out too. I've really, really thought about this now. It's a diorama, and in the original game, it's going to be a new junk city. It's not garbage that's around him. It's tires. So I found a company that makes small like model tires and sells them in bulk for really cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole world is just going to be a bunch of tires all around it.
Okay.
Because that's literally in the game. You jump on tires.
Okay.
In New Junk City. And then the first boss is technically in that world Psychro, which will be the Lord of Change. That I'm just going to make a Lord of Change. And I'm going to see how I can put I need like a really fake looking space helmet for him.
Okay.
So I got to figure out how to do that. Like one of those classic glass fishbowl looking helmets.
Yeah.
That's what I need to explore. Because then if I put that on the Lord of Change and made it look kind of cool, I think it would really translate.
Could you get like something like
an ornament of some kind? Like a clear ornament?
Well, does the space helmet that comes on like that guy from Toy Story, could you find one of those and bust it off?
Buzz Lightyear? Oh.
Like bust off a Buzz Lightyear one?
That's a good idea.
They probably have one that would fit.
Yep.
Right?
Oh, yeah. That's actually a good idea.
So chat, what I'm doing here
What are you doing?
Is taking the bright warm gray and starting as we do very thin so that I can just get some areas of brightness sketched out, and then coming back with it less thin and hitting like the edges and such so that I get the brightness blending into all of the previous work we've done on the skin, right? So I use the thin to set up this bright. Can you pop in real close?
Yeah.
You know, I've set up the thinness of it to set the brightness up in this area on the neck. And now when I come back at less thin, I get more brightness out of it, and I kind of sit that inside of it there, so I get kind of a double whammy of highlight going on. So you're kind of building up a blend.
Nice.
This is, for some reason, I'm way out of focus until I'm up here. Did you adjust that for
Jordan? I had to
Jordan?
do that for Jordan. Get comfy for me.
I'm a little out of focus here.
There we go.
Okay, cool.
There we go. Yeah, he paints a little further up. I'm focused, chat. Nice.
Right, so you can see how it allows you to have multiple colors out of one. This is what my whole Adepticon class was basically showing you, is that the first time you go to the model with any color, right, use it thinly so that you can, number one, you can use it as a way to test, right? The thinner my color is, the less impact it has on the model with each brush stroke. So I can put it on there. It's not going to ruin anything. It's also not going to be at its brightest as I do this, right? Mm-hmm. And it won't cure to its brightest level. So I can just kind of come in here and say, yeah, I want the tops of these muscles and tendons to be bright. I want the top of the toes to be brighter. In here. And I can just start kind of, like I said, being kind of sketchy. I don't want to be too messy, right? Because it starts getting out of control and looks nasty if you are. But that'll just kind of brighten up those areas. And then, less water on the brush, right? More opacity on the paint side now because less water. And then I can come like where I've created this bright line here. And I can come up here and say, okay, I really want the light to be the brightest at the top of this muscle or tendon here. And same here, like poke a couple of doots and deets in there. And now with just one color, I've been able to give the impact of multiple layers because I've got the full brightness of the color, like up at the top, then it tails off. But that's all just one paint.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why you see this over here, same thing. It looks like you're getting two different colors out of it because the first color being thin is allowing it to blend visually with the color underneath it. In this case, that green-gray.
The green-gray is a really cool death Like skin color.
Well, yeah, and
I
it's
bet.
going over those greens, right? So it
Uh-huh.
goes over like the bright yellow greens and things like that. So we get this yellowish hue that's kind of gaunt, nasty,
Yeah.
jaundice feel on everything. And then the bright warm gray adds to that. And then the last coat of the bright warm gray acts almost like a white. You know, it gives me the ability to really poke in a little bit brighter highlight.
Yeah.
And as I'm doing skin, it makes the skin look like paper pale. Because remember, this is all done with what do we have here? I mean, the
3
underpainting
colors.
4 colors, and then this is 5.
Because then you had dark royal purple.
Royal purple,
Then you had yellow
dark
green.
yellow green,
I think.
and
did you
then
even
bright
use-
yellow green.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's it.
So
Green gray. Question from Alex. Hi, everyone at Monument. Quick question.
Hi.
What brush model are you using to paint that mini?
which what?
What brush are you using?
This is one of our Pro Synthetic number 2s. This is a sample, like a test sample, so the blue handle is a different blue. We typically bring them in off colors just so we can keep them set aside, but this is an old brush. These are the brushes that I used to test to see about the filaments we were using for the Pro Synthetics before we brought them out.
You just found it, right?
I have a box of them.
You just had a box of them?
Yeah, when we moved my office, I found a box of old
Nice.
test brushes. So I'm like, I never let anything go unused. I was like, as long as it's still
Yeah.
around and in good shape, I will paint with it because I don't care. One of the biggest things that I think everybody should learn as an artist is that the tool, while being a great thing, is that the more kind of seasoned a tool becomes, and this is a funny way to talk about it, right? But you think about like your old hammer in your garage has got like your hand oils on the hilt and is all dirty and banged up, but it has that feel, right? And I'm the same way with brushes. I don't care if there's a little bit of a bend to the tip. I don't care how long. It's done me well, and it will continue to serve me well until I have to, trim it down and make it a stippling brush or something. I am not afraid to use an old brush, but these were brand new, basically. They're just older test brushes. Well, I think we finished like what I was doing up at the head last time.
Yeah.
Now that I'm looking at it.
Hey, for all of you just joining in, welcome. Where have you been?
Where have you been?
What a big day. We launched our AMP colors to the public. You can get them at this link right here if you haven't gotten them. There are 18 new colors.
Wait a minute. We let people buy these?
From the store.
I thought these were just mine.
These are not just yours. And hey, if you
Other
had to
people
pick,
get to have these?
if you had to pick one
I
favorite
did not sign
color,
up for this.
Jason, if you had to pick one favorite color, what would it be from the new AMP colors?
That's not a question I can answer, and you
Ready?
know this.
3, 2, and 1, and go. Nothing. I didn't know. I risked that one. I thought I might get a response.
This is not the way this works, Christopher, and you know better.
Oh, I would say all of them. Thumb Palette Enthusiast has a question. I want to have my model look like it's currently in a heavy rainstorm. I have a solution for water on the floor, but other than putting gloss varnish from above on the model, I'm at loss. Do you have any tips for this? Water from above?
You may or may not like it, but the way that I would always model rainfall is a very tedious thing. You need to get the thinnest, lightest weight fishing wire that you can get, right? I forget what test weight it winds up being. I haven't fished in a long time, but very, very lightweight fishing wire, the clear stuff, and you cut off small lengths of it, right? And then you would, if you have a jeweler's drill that will drill small enough holes, you would drill little small holes, right? And you would put those in the ground all at the same angle of your raindrops hitting and at various lengths. And then you have to do little resin splash pools at where each one hits. It's a pain, dude. I do not do rain environments because of how hard it is to pull off and make it look right. Because you have to desaturate your colors because, as you know, if it's raining heavily, color starts to not be vibrant because you're generally highly overcast, thunderstorm, darker. So you have to desaturate the whole palette of the model to drag it down into stormy weather coloring. and then you have to put that rain on there and lots of wetness and gloss and things like that. So it's a hell of a deal to pull off. When you do it, it's fantastic, worth its weight in gold. I would not do it again. I do not suggest those types of things. I apologize. I think that doing it as a display after the rain has stopped, desaturated colors, stormy weather, but the rain isn't currently happening, there's just puddles and lots of wetness on the model, tends to feel better, because then you can just do little dots of gloss on the model, like stippling gloss varnish, right? So that it looks like it's beaded up on surfaces and painted as if it's wet after the fact, because the live action of rain is almost, it's soul-sucking to model.
Yeah. Here's a good question. Just ordered the new amp colors this morning. Super excited for all the colors except the magenta wash. I know exactly what I can use anything else for, but what do I use? What would I use a magenta wash for?
So magenta wash is great for any types of OSLs you're doing. It's great for skin, being able to use the magenta wash over your dark color of skin. So let's say you paint your skin with, say, dark flesh that I've got here, right? So if I go from dark flesh to, what do I got? What do I got?
Trench Crusade model also came out good with that too.
Like, okay, so if I were to take dark flesh into shadow flesh and then use the magenta wash over this and then go back on the highlights with shadow flesh and then move to tan flesh or whatever I'm using as my highlight, that magenta sits in the low spots and gives you that feeling of blood under the skin. Chris makes a good point. We used it on this.
Yep. That's a great example.
Even though the skin is more pale. Pop in closer on this.
Yeah.
Right? That's all magenta wash that did that. Over my base layer of skin, I did the magenta wash, and then I went back over and highlighted it with the pale flesh tone. So you see how the magenta wash is giving it that reddish nature. I thin it way down so it doesn't just put magenta, like, neon glow on the model. But I use the magenta wash, and then I use the Payne's gray wash in the shadows. So you can see, like, on the muscle there on his back, that's Payne's gray over the magenta. But I do the magenta, do the base layer of skin, highlight it once, magenta wash over the top of that really thin, and then in this case, the Payne's gray wash, and then go back and layer up your skin tones on top of it again. And you get just a really, really quick and easy way to pull off what is usually more time consuming to give it that depth and that feel of alive skin. So it's great for that. Great for that. Yeah, cheeks, nose, flush areas on skin is great. That's what is basically happening here, right? Is just being able to put it on there and get the feel of, blood pumping underneath the skin is great. But you do it as a mid-layer wash, meaning that you're going to do some paint before it, wash, and then paint after it. As opposed to what we think of washes as shades. Sometimes you just paint silver and then you put Nuln Oil and then highlight it. Here you're going to use the wash earlier in the process and then layer your colors back over it to keep the wash only visible where you need it. Even Google Lens has no idea what this model is. I don't know either.
I was just selling. I don't know where you found this randomly.
I have no idea where it came from.
We found it randomly in the office.
It's a 3D print that we got from somebody. We didn't print it ourselves, but I have no idea what it is.
Zambies, how you doing? Welcome in.
I apologize. I have no idea, no clue. It's just cool. It might be. It feels like Awaken Realms or what is that other place called? Something.
I don't know.
Guild, Adventurers Guild or something, because they do that kind of...
Square. Is it from a game?
No.
Yeah, it's just like a...
It's just a model that I thought was cool to paint years ago. Probably like a year and a half, 2 years ago. Still waiting for Monument Harvey's Tartan Paint. We released it. It's in a do-it-yourself set.
That's science for you, folks. Zambies, how you doing? Oh, I see. He's winking. You see that, chat? Oh, he's winking. Oh, God, he's winking. He's in distress? Oh.
No, that's this.
Oh, I see. I understand. Lots of confusion.
Now we're going to have an intervention call.
That's right.
Damn
Speaking of intervention calls, have you seen the new amp colors? There's a link for you. You like that segue? Welcome in, everybody.
That's not how that works, but you do you, buddy. You do you.
I had a segue somewhere. I had
take
to
a sip
get
of
this train
I'm going to
back
take a
on
sip
the
of
track.
my water.
Okay. It's just straight vodka. That's whoa. I can't wait to get that.
Makes Chris bearable.
That train whistle is going to be great. Beep,
Vodka.
beep.
It's what makes Chris bearable.
Vodka. Oh my gosh. Source. Let me find questions. Do you have any advice for telling a story? Okay, I'll go back up to, let's see. Hey, Source, don't tell me what to do. I'm my own man. I will. Here's a question. Kruger says, I think you're one of the best miniature painting I've ever seen.
What?
No, that's
no
a very
way,
good
but thank you.
We the people paint with Jason. Do you think at this point where you are super good, there is something you need to improve in your painting style?
Oh, huh? Yeah, tons.
Also, is there a reason for keep creating more and more variations of your paints? I love your orange paints.
That's always a tough one for an artist like me. I don't create paint strictly with a revenue sense like most of our competitors would, right? They come out with more colors because they'll make more money. For me as an artist, it's tough because while we need to make paint to sell paint, as an artist, I want to mix more, and at some point we'll make our last color.
Yeah.
And when that is, we've got it right now. We said 96. That's a lie.
Oh, yeah.
We've done more than 96 already, but right now we're factoring in at 192, The reality, though, is that there's a lot of people in miniature painting that we love to, create more colors for because it just makes it easy to find the color you need or want on a project if you can reach over and grab it and not have to mix it. But mixing is obviously where you want to be. Now, to your previous question, though, as far as are there things I still need to improve upon? Constantly. Yeah. I'm always, as an artist, having conversations in my own head. Even as I'm painting, here on stream, a lot of times I'll be having internal dialogues while talking to you about, oh, you know what? I could do this, or I could do this, or hey, I haven't tried this in a while. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Or you guys will inspire me with an idea in chat or something I see in our Discord, stuff like that. And then a lot of times, really, I will tell you what my one resounding thing that I critique myself on all the time is patience. And it's a double-edged sword for me because a lot of times on stream we paint quicker because we want to show you more in a short time frame. Because here, this is more of the Bob Ross thing. I'm showing you without time lapse. I'm showing you the ability to make things happen on a model. Now we get the serialized version. I can paint this all week, but I'm fitting more into a short time frame than I would if I were just painting by myself, right? And it's funny to say that because I can paint quicker by myself, but I can also spend more time on certain things when I'm by myself as opposed to on stream because it might be boring or whatever, But for me, it's patience because I'll see myself getting sloppier as I paint quicker, which is a duh kind of a statement. Of course you get sloppy because you're spending less time making sure that your brushstroke has a mindful intent behind it, if that makes sense. Yeah. So when I go in to make that line, I can either choose to take the time to get the brush really comfortable in my hands, set it on the model and pull that line very finely and blend it out and wisp it off, or I can just go bang. And as you go fast, I like to just bang it on there because I like the sketchiness. I love the creative exploration, I call it, of sketching on the model. And you'll hear this from a lot of artists, that sometimes the most fun they'll have is as they're setting the model up for greatness, which a lot of people call the garbage phase, because the model doesn't look great, but I can see, because I'm seeing beyond what's happening right now. I'm seeing where it's going. And I like the sketchy part because it shows me that path to the end in a way that allows me to redirect my course. Whereas when you get in and you start spending all your time with your blends and that mindful intent on every brush stroke, that gets to be kind of mundane and repetitive sometimes for me. And so I get lost in that, and eventually I just get impatient. I'm just like, just finish the owl, and you just start slapping stuff around, and not being understanding that, even for not so much when we're on stream, because I like to talk more about the individual things I'm doing with you guys so you kind of understand. But when I'm painting by myself, patience is my big thing, because I'll just get bored.
Yeah.
I'll get bored doing whatever I'm doing. 50 million doots on non-metallic gold, and you're like, I'm done. How can I make this happen quicker? So I think for me, it's patience. Patience when I think about it and I take a breath and I become mindful with my intent of the paintbrush with each stroke, then my work obviously becomes strides better instantaneously. And that's true for all of us. You'll learn something that you really like. You'll do it on a model. It'll be great. And then you'll feel like, what did I do? Did I forget it? Because you're not taking the time that you did on the first trek through learning, which takes that patience to really get it. you'll start wanting it to happen quick. And some techniques just don't happen that way.
Danby says, I feel attacked by this, but it's 100% true.
Yeah, it's true of all of us, right? It's true of all of us. It's just that patience, and a lot of it is just that instant gratification takes too long as an artist. I think as a whole, in the creative mind, and you'll get it too, even if you don't think you're an artist, you are. If you've ever picked up a paintbrush and touched it to a model, you're an artist. Whether you like that term or not, you are. Because you're creating, you're taking something in your mind, even if what your mind is doing is looking at the box and wanting to recreate what's on the box. It takes a certain level of creativity to choose those colors, do the process, do it. It's not just mechanical. And I think all of us, once we've done it to a certain point, and what that point is different for everybody, but when you've got enough color on the model that you can see the end, right? Then I think something clicks. And for some people, it picks up the pace because you're like, I'm almost there. Let's run the rest of the race and get it done. And so your energy increases. And people like me, I'm like, all right, I've already done it. I don't want to finish it. I already know what it looks like. Bye. And you've seen me. I'll put it on the shelf. Now, I have the luxury of being able to put things on the shelf because I don't have to finish them. I've shown you how to get the thing done, and then I can go paint something else.
Yeah.
Right. So it fits for me to teach because I can paint the way I love, but I don't have to finish it because I've already seen the end. I've already got all the colors, all the base coats, all the things on there. I know where it's going to go. I know what it's going to look like. That's fine enough for me because I'm not trying to finish it and sell it. I'm not commission painting, anything like that. I'm not putting it in my army to play on the table most of the time. When I am, that's when it really, like Zambies is when, we played that Warcry game 2 years ago at Adepticon, and that's one of the last armies I finished because I had a goal. So I need that goal and that patience to really drive me.
Yeah. Hey, look at this.
Or I need Zambies to challenge me more often.
Raiders, Brannigan's Brushes, and Gonders, 2 raids. Thank you so much.
What is going on? Hello.
If you all are new here,
Heidi-ho.
Our amp colors launched today. Check them out.
They're live.
They're live and to the public.
And to the public. You are the public.
Doghouse is asking, let me go back up here. I know things are crazy from conventions, but was wondering if you would ever make it out as a vendor at MMSI in the Chicago Verbs in October sometimes. What is that? MMSI?
Can you call it by its normal non-acronym name? Maybe I don't understand what it is.
What kind of con is that, Doghouse?
Yeah, I don't know the con by the acronym. I might know what it is otherwise.
Welcome in, Brannigan.
But to be honest with you, probably not. Regionalized shows are very hard for us as a company to mobilize to. We're trying to figure that out. We are putting some effort into behind the scenes how to get to more shows. We support a lot of people at those shows. People that are doing classes, people that are teaching, people that are vending, the show itself with sponsorships. We like to be involved, but getting to them is tough. We're still in the large scheme of things, a small company, comparatively speaking, to like GW and some of our competitors.
Military Miniature Society of Illinois.
Oh, awesome. Would love to. Jen and I have talked about getting to a point where we can go out and attend more of these shows, more as attendees.
Yeah.
And not like bring full booths, but be able to come and like hang out and paint. I used to love doing that. I miss it. I used to go to shows and just sit and paint with people. It puts me back in the frame of mind of listening from your ears rather than my own. And that may sound a little kumbaya drum circle-y, but that's the case. And it benefits me a lot, right? I need to be able to hear what you guys are thinking about your journey in the hobby. What are you liking? What are you not liking? What's cool? What's not cool? And it makes me feel like a real hobbyist as opposed to sitting behind a desk looking at spreadsheets about the hobby all the time.
Yeah, that's a good point.
At the end of the day, it's still a business and you get lost in it from time to time. But
here's a good one. Why should we buy the new amp colors? Asking for a friend.
New colors?
Dope.
New colors? Better colors? Cool stuff. I mean, you should only buy them if you like the colors and are going to use them. So if they're colors that appeal to you, or if you're a completionist, there's a lot of reasons. They're great new Pro Acrylic colors. And they're really, really good colors too. We've never made bad colors, but when you get certain colors that, like I've had a bunch of people say, it seems like more grays and browns. I'm like, well, we paint military models, right? Whether you like your fantasy models to be considered military or not is irrelevant. They are, right? They're martial, world of martials, combat and stuff is where we live as painters in the fantasy and sci-fi world. Whether you paint historic models or you paint Age of Sigmar or whatever, you paint wizards, they're still meant for combat.
Well,
and
yeah.
So putting those models in their world, a lot of times we want desaturated colors, and those grays and browns are mixers that help every color you've got. It just, so good.
Well, you also say there's a lot of cool foundational colors in there. Like you're not going to paint white, but you need a lot of colors to get to white.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So that's set. And at some point, Jason's going to do a good armor workup for us, some white armor. That'll be our next.
Coming up next, I think, right? Yeah. I think that somebody in chat said, hey, well, we had a bunch of people asking for white armor, and then somebody in chat on Friday asked about Tau.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm not going to. And then you said white armor, and I go, crisis suits would be cool, or a ghost keel. So they got me a ghost keel, and Chris is going to build it, or somebody in the office is going to build it. And after we're done with this model, we'll paint a ghost keel.
I think a lot of people have asked about white armor specifically in chat. So I'm excited for that one.
Slow Speed Studios, that is not the reason to buy the paint.
False.
Never have too many tools for your toolbox. Also true.
Oh, it's not made of bad color, but I see what you've done there, little Billy. You almost got me. I almost read that out loud. Hey,
little Billy.
Hey.
Feel that. Feel that. Stop by your FLGS, but they didn't have ant paints. Why not? Did you yell at them? They don't open their email, probably. It's funny because out of our we have great retail network, but out of them, if we get half of them to buy into pre-orders, we're surprised. They're just busy.
Yeah.
Monument is just a small sliver of what these stores do, especially if they, obviously they do 40K and all the big stuff, and they do Magic, the Gathering, and things like that, and they got bigger fish to fry. But yeah, go kick them under the table, because a lot of them are calling today.
Yeah.
What happens is they see the release, they see on Facebook, available now, and they're like, why didn't I know about this? And then we lead them to their inbox, and they say, oh.
Yeah. Here's a question from Papa Chicken. Do you have any advice on telling a story with BattleTech minis? There's no facial expressions, so the options I've come up with are weapon effects and battle damage are making a full diorama. Am I missing anything?
You're nailing it. It's just like any other vehicle, right? Because they're just vehicles. And how do you tell a story with something that doesn't have or show emotion? How do you put emotion into a non-sentient thing? And it is the storytelling of where it's been, right? And so you have to tell its history through what it looks like right now. And so completely clean and shiny, it's brand new, it hasn't seen war, can be very, very impactful if you put it in a war-torn environment, right? You put a brand new tank next to a blown-up building, right? Then that tells its own story. You put a very weathered tank next to that same blown-up building, and it tells a totally different story, right? So it is all about weathering. With BattleTech, unfortunately, you can't show crew, but obviously with tanks and things, you could put crew on it, and you can tell emotion through the crew. But BattleTech is really about weathering and environment. You're telling a story about where it's been. So, whereas a model that has a face and facial expression is all about here and now, the tank is about, and the vehicles are about where they've been. So how do you tell that? How do you say that? And it's weathering, combat damage. You
could do one that is like aged, that's been abandoned.
Well, that's it. That's weathering, oxidation, things like that. Yeah, 100%. Tim, what's going on, bud?
What a big day.
You're like Zero except Zorro.
Oh, you got my Tech Elf got his today. Nice.
Ghost Hunter says if your BattleTech needs more emotion, use lots of pink paint.
No.
That will evoke emotions in the viewer, usually of rage and destroyed models. It's a good thing they make BattleTech out of cheap Chinese plastic, so it won't break when you throw it against the wall. But
yeah. Do you? Here's a question from Derpstick. Would you use red orange as a final highlight to something painted red? What other ways could you use red orange to paint?
Well, I mean, it's its own color.
Yeah.
So it would be the color that you would use. as a red is probably where my brain starts initially. Yes, though, it can be used to highlight reds, darker reds especially, right? But yeah, it works great that way. But also, like I said, as its own color, it's fantastic. You know, not every red is pyro red. So being able to work from, you know, like red oxide up to orange red is a great combo. Mahogany, start adding orange red into mahogany and build up your red out of that is great.
Awkwardish says it's an excellent color for mixing in ginger hair.
Yep. Any kind of that leather, right, as a base for orange can be a really great shade base layer for orange.
Jason,
Sir,
what would be a good use case for the gloss varnish, just in general?
gloss varnish is something that you can use as a medium to add to paint to reduce the matte finish if you're looking to paint like the, I don't know, the edges sometimes of non-metallic metal. Having a little gloss to the paint is cool because it gives it a little shine that helps out your highlight.
Yeah.
So you can do that. The using it on water effects, obviously, using it to take it by itself with no color in it and doing it on the eye, and then a streak down the eye will create a tear.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Things like what we were talking about for rain or wet environments, you can stipple it to give little droplets of paint feel on matte surface. You need your surface to be matte so that the only reflectiveness is the gloss, because that's where it has its strength. Yeah. So again, around the teeth, so it looks like you have a salivating monster. You can put it on the teeth, maybe just at the gums or on the tongue. So it's strategic for where you want the wet look. Yeah. If you're doing like fresh blood, like hacking a body, you know, I wouldn't do it on the sword if it's just a bloody sword and it's not hacking at the time. But if you're hacking and you have like a spray of blood, using the gloss over it is good. Okay. Yeah. That's why the dark crimson is a gloss coat paint, is because it's meant as a blood effect, and so you get that in the bottle.
Gotcha.
But yeah, gloss varnish has, you know, it's limited in the way that I use it, but when you use it, it's highly impactful.
Yeah.
You got to be careful with it, right? Because if it needs to be used in tandem with very matte surfaces, which is why it works so well with Pro Acryl, because you need that counterbalance. You need to have one of them not reflect at all for the gloss varnish to tell a story. You know, doing it in wet areas of brown on engine decks gives you that oily feel. It'd be really cool. All sorts of neat stuff you can do with it.
Have you ever broke a Mini while painting it?
Oh. Let me tell you a story, my friend. The other day, in the not-so-distant past, we were working on Not Sanguineous, and I was going through and painting the little blood droplets on the armor. And there's 1, and there's 2, and there's 3, and there's 4 down there. And then I got over here to what should have... there's 5 on the chest. And then I got over here to what should have been 6, and it was upside down. And I said, why did they sculpt this upside down, chat? And we all got quiet, and we realized that some idiot had put the shoulder plate on upside down.
I really like, though, how we didn't notice it.
The whole time we were painting it. The whole time we were painting the model with the wings and everything, and we didn't notice that the shoulder plate was upside down.
You were like...
And it was very noticeable once I pointed it out. Very noticeable. And so then, after the fact, we went and took it, and I had to break the shoulder plate off. And in order to do that, I had to intentionally break the wing off.
Yeah.
So I had to pop the wing off, which caused half of our viewership to have a heart attack. Pop the wing off that we had already painted to this level, right? So we're about 70% done with the wing. Had to pop it off. Had to pop the shoulder and the arm off in order to... Had to pop all that off and then put it all back together. And yeah, so I have broken it, but we also in the midst of doing that broke the end of the spear, which I have over here on the table. So yeah, you know, pointy bits and stuff, like I might hold a model and then as I'm rotating around and talking to you guys, I might bend this and pop it off. You know, that stuff happens.
Yeah.
I don't generally break it by like dropping it, although I have like had models pop off of the base. I use corks and poster tack, and I might hold it and have it plop over, and depending on how brittle, this is a 3D print, so if I drop this, if it fell off of the cork, so sometimes you'll catch me stopping and pushing it back on, but if it fell off, it might break his sword or a spear, and I have to glue it back on. So yeah, that's happened. I'm not afraid of it.
Tech L, thank you for that sub.
I've been painting for 45 years, and from the frustrating days of being a young kid and thinking the world was ending if something broke or didn't come out the way I wanted it because you have zero patience and no time for it, no understanding, to now, world's different. I don't care. It can break. I mean, I broke that, and everybody in chat was having a heart attack, and I was like, watch this.
Well, I get in the zone. So like when I'm painting something, and then all of a sudden, like something just derails
it wrecks
me.
You,
I'm like, gosh darn it.
Yeah, there's a lot of insert frustrated phrase here.
Yes, very much so. But no, I will take some of that credit for not noticing, because I just love the reaction of like, this shoulder plate's upside down.
Ghost Hunter said, my therapist ordered me to stop watching that VOD. What, did you have it on repeat? You are your own worst enemy, Ghost Hunter.
Okay, now for all of you who need to go watch something like that, it is a good VOD. It doesn't exist, though.
For fixing the spear, I just glue the tip back on. I have the end of it, so I would just glue it back on.
Yeah.
Simple. I can't pin it, it's too narrow, but just by gluing it back on, it's fine. Super glue.
Here, and you know what? For all of you who would like to have a link to that VOD, here you go. Here you go. Here you go.
No singing.
Oh, sorry.
So you not just broke the miniature, but you also broke the heart of your viewers. Yeah, that was well, the first was not my goal, but once I realized I had to do step 1, then step 2 became my goal.
I don't think you broke the heart of the viewers. I think you
broke the soul.
Drove them all to a heart attack.
Heart attack.
There's a difference between breaking your heart.
Well, technically, that's like breaking heart, like literally.
Yeah.
Not figuratively.
I think everybody, I could hear people on the other side of the chat. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Source Does says, so we're getting TMM on this one. Do you want TMM on this one? We can do that.
True metallic. Now, if you
want metallic paints instead of non-metallic gold for once?
Oh.
Is that what you're asking about? He has some pretty good armor that we could do some cool metallics with. I want to do it in silvers, though. Is that all right?
Now, what kind of silvers? Rusty
like
silvers?
Really rusty silvers, I think.
You're due for that rusty.
Although, that bronze that we did on the axe, that goldish, dark goldy bronze that I did on the axe would be really bitching on this too, huh?
I was just about to say, if you all haven't checked that True Metallic out, there you go.
We'll play with it.
I've been looking for models just to do that workup.
We'll play with it. But yeah, if you guys would like to see some True Metallic, I can do this guy in True Metallic. I don't have a goal for him. Whatever.
Well, our goal with this one was just the dead skin.
You pinned a 0.5 millimeter axe shaft? Spats and hats? You're insane. I don't even have a drill bit smaller than a 0.5 millimeter. It would have to be a 1/4 mil.
Wait a second.
No, it can't even be a 1/4 mil. It would have to be an 1/8 mil.
0.5?
Yeah, that's a 0.5 mil.
Oh,
a 0.5 mil would have to have an 1/8 of a millimeter, right? 0.0125 millimeter in order to make a hole. And what did you even put in it? You're insane. I would just glue it. Will you noosh some rust on it? No, not on this guy. I would have had to have done that first, right? Noosh, I can use noosh as a way to put effects on the metal. Yeah, I won't do it in the same way where I kind of glom it on and wipe it off. I would paint it on specifically and then use the brush to move it around because I would get too much on the horse that I'm painting, right?
Yeah.
So you have to, one thing to think about when doing very invasive weathering like that is whether you are going to be able to do it later in the process or need to do it early and then do all your detailing around it. I'm very messy when I do that kind of stuff, so I plan that out and do it ahead of time, then go back and paint the skin, which causes problems. Like if you have an armored model, right, like this guy, imagine looking at this and trying to make the decision on how you want to paint the troll, right? On this, I would want to paint the armor first, right, if I were doing something like noosh to get the effect, because I don't want to get the noosh on the skin, right? And so you paint the armor, but then you're forced in the situation where the skin is obviously underneath the armor, so it makes getting into the armpits and everything more tedious. So you just have to plan that out and determine where's your pain point,
That's such a clean model.
It's a great model.
I love that one.
It's a great model. I really enjoyed this guy.
It's just a good model.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. Forge World when it was good.
Yeah. Did you sponge stipple bright silver on there at the end?
No. On that guy, no. That was all just dry brush, believe it or not.
I've been using that technique since you've done that guy.
This is basically what I would call sponge stippling of the rust colors. So the burnt sienna, burnt orange, and yellow ochre were all stippled on there with one of our dome dry brushes, right?
Yep.
So a DA2, right, or DD2, right? Take this and stipple in the burnt sienna rust colors, right? Then you go burnt orange, then you go burnt yellow, and it looks like a clown suit. It looks like an absolute train wreck. But that's not the point. And then you dry brush the silver over the top. And this is dry brush with dark silver. And then dry brush heavily with dark silver so that you're covering up all that rust. And you see that the rust only stays down in the recesses where you want it. And then you lightly dry brush silver over the top to get the shine on the edges, like the edge of the blade and stuff. And it is the absolute best, most efficient way to get amazing weathered metal. That's all this is.
I've nonstop used that.
This took us
technique.
what? It took maybe on stream talking about it, maybe took it 45 minutes.
Yeah.
If that, to do this big old model. And it just looks fantastic. I've used it on all sorts of things. The video on our YouTube channel that explains it is done on an Adeptus Titanicus Reaver Titan, I think.
Yeah.
It's super simple.
Good stuff.
But it's a messy way of painting. So again, like I said, you need to plan that out and do the armor first, even though that doesn't make sense from the way we tell how we want. How the most effective way to paint a model is from the inside out. So you paint the thing that's at the deepest layer, right? Usually skin. Or if you have like a Nurgle model, it would be the guts and the bone that you see through the skin, right? That's the inside. And then you work to the outside, which is usually the armor and the weapons, the things that are on the skin, right? That's the easiest way because it puts you in less of a bind to have to paint and get your paintbrush into little fine detail areas to paint like that little bit of skin showing through the armor plating. And then you get paint on the armor plating that you finished, right? So you have to think about when you're doing heavy weathering like that. If it's going to be messy, then you're going to want to paint it first, and it might reverse the process for you where you're like, okay, well, I'm going to have to get tedious on some of this skin then, you know, because if I were to do the messy weathering, excuse me, over the skin, then it would get on the skin. And so I'm always trying to make sure that my process I'm doing right now does not interrupt the process I did before.
Yeah. I can see that. I do like that rusty metal. I've been using it constantly. Love
yeah,
that.
It's great. It's a great technique.
It's one of those techniques where I find the enjoyment of it because it's easy for me to comprehend. And
the reward comes quick.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of things where for very little input, I say it tongue in cheek that I'm a lazy painter, but I am. I want for the reward to come quickly, right? Like the skin that we're doing here is a very fast reward, right? This is not a lot of paint, color-wise, having to choose to make this work. Gets done pretty quick. And so we get a very good effect without having to spend tons of effort. Now, it might take me more time because we're sitting here jawing and having a good time on stream, but at the end of the day, it doesn't take a lot of time.
Yeah, it's a quick reward without sacrificing quality.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. 100 million%.
I've started to use that same technique on other things, right? Like I've started to do that on my trees, right? Or my bark.
Yep.
Where I do a bunch of like dark greens or something.
And then dry brush like a brown over the top.
And then dry brush dark umber.
And that's what my hope always is that you can see the process for what it is, that it's not just about painting metal, it's about underpainting.
Yep.
You'll see me underpaint nearly everything we do at some point because of the way that it allows you to have really neat layered color and the effect that gets you for such a small investment. Your return is huge, right? It's what we've done here. Yep. I love doing it on skin, obviously. We show that a lot. But also on things like armor, trees, anything you want, you know. It puts dry brushing as a very powerful tool again, because dry brushing can be a way to apply filters that just makes them really effective and simple. Whereas a lot of times when I tell people, oh, and now all you have to do is put a brown filter over it, their brains explode. Yeah. They're like, but I don't want to glaze. I don't want to do this. And it's like, oh, well, then just take a dry brush and kind of smudge it on there, you know. What technique do you feel like? Because every technique can be used to apply a filter. Sometimes the easiest might be the quickest might be the hardest one to master, right? Because glazing is usually very, very quick, but it's very hard for some people to master. So it may not be that you're comfortable with it. So yeah, do a dry brush. Do a sponge stipple, like someone mentioned. Can be a great way. I've seen some artists really lauding that technique on the internet now. The problem with that is that in order to do it on very fine details with a sponge, you really have to learn and be ready to figure out your process and where to start. Otherwise, you'll mess your model up. So there's one guy on Instagram that I can't remember his name, but he shows painting all of his blends with makeup sponges. Does most of his models like all makeup sponge.
Cannibal got their new amp colors. Nice.
Fantastic. I can't wait to see what everybody starts doing with them. They're
super
the colors
cool,
are very
Cannibal.
focused on like the Star Wars palette.
Yeah,
but they are
super
great
cool.
colors.
Well, this gray green's got me thinking redoing my bunch of zombies.
Yeah, gray green's awesome. Yeah, for zombie flesh, hopefully you're seeing that this is super easy.
They got rid of some of my models in Soul Blight chat. Not happy.
Oh, with the new book?
Yeah. Some of the old like fancy heroes.
Oh, really?
I am going to now use them in Frostgrave. Because that is a fun game.
Do they have a equivalent of Legends in Age of Sigmar? Do they
You
move
can
them?
use them still if they're in the app. You can still use them, but they won't support them, I believe. But it's more of they just replaced. They didn't really change much in the book, really. They just added some terrain features, essentially. Painting a zombie horse seems like a nightmare. TK421, do you copy?
Was that a nerd reference?
That was a nerd reference.
A nerd reference. I remember as a young kid getting into D&D for the first time, I wanted a nightmare as a steed. And I kept telling the dungeon master, and I had not really gotten to the point in my nerd life where I understood what I was asking him. Yeah. And he just couldn't handle it. He was like, I need you to shut up. This was my friend that got me into, I mean, basically this friend of mine, Matt, from way back, was the guy that got me into doing what I'm doing now inadvertently. It was only years later that he contacted me on Facebook and was like, holy hell, I use your paint. I didn't know that was you. I haven't seen you in decades.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
And a cool story.
Yeah, right. His name was Matthew Sims. He's from Dallas, Texas. He was my neighbor forever, and he was the old kid on the block.
Yeah.
He was going into high school when we were just going into junior high, but he was an introverted nerd, and he played football. He's a big guy. He played lineman for the high school team.
Yeah.
His dad, wanted him to play football and pressured him into that, and he did all that. But at the end of the day, he loved, nerd stuff. So he, D&D and all these things. And so he had us younger kids in the neighborhood that he would DM for. And so I'm like, I don't know, 13 years old, 12 years old.
Yep.
And hanging out with this older kid on the block. My parents are thinking we're devil worshippers and whatever. And yeah, it was great. He's the reason we did this. He got us into BattleTech and all that stuff. So
that's cool, though.
Starfleet battles.
And now you're here.
And now we're here, Chad.
Oh, here's a question. Couple questions, actually. I'll start with Buds. Was the Wizard's Bet set a cruel joke, or is it in the works?
It's a cruel joke.
And is it it would be the butt of the joke. Derpstick, is beige red a good starting point for a skin tone, or as a mid-tone for darker skin? ?
I like it as a mid-tone for very pale flesh. I haven't used it as a mid-tone for dark flesh, believe it or not, but I've used it as a mid-tone for, pale flesh. That's what we did our Gorger Mall Pack or whatever the hell these guys are called. This is underpainted with dark purple, dark magenta, and bright yellow green, and then the red gray over the top of it, and then into I believe ivory as a highlight, right? To give it that ivory, lives in a cave, doesn't see the sun very often kind of feel. I didn't want it albino. I just wanted it to be pale. Right. And that's so great. The red gray still has enough pinkish warmth in it that when you put it on, it desaturates all the colors, but makes it feel like it could be alive. Right. And then the ivory or olive flesh, I think it was olive flesh that I used over the top for the highlights. The olive flesh then really has no life to it. It feels almost like, white face paint or something. Right. That's what gives it its real pale nature. So that was all red gray. We've done red gray as a great color for stone. Just a fantastic color for doing various types of stone and terrain with. So that can be great. But it's, start thinking like, what are the color temperatures that you're trying to create? If you're trying to do something warm and desaturated, red gray might be perfect for that. I could see it for leathers, it's a great color, one that I tend to think to go to quite often.
It has a lot of use cases. Yep, underpainting is definitely once you've found a good use case for it, it's definitely something you won't stray away from. Because then once you get through the ugly phase, right, then it really is satisfying.
I've had the most fun watching people as they start to get it with underpainting. One of the things they like to do is do it and show their friends. Like, watch this.
Yeah.
See this? And everybody's like, are you insane? And then they do it, and people are like, ooh.
Oh, yeah.
It has such a wow factor, and it creates finished product that is so difficult for people to learn quickly any other way. Because it blends colors you would need years to figure out, right?
Hey, speaking of years to figure out.
Uh-oh. What's he telling me?
Welcome in, everybody. Today is the launch day to the public of our new AMP colors. If you weren't paying attention, oh my gosh. Trollord Games rating with 59.
What is going on?
Welcome in, Raiders. What a great segue.
Hello.
You see what I just did there? That.
How we doing, everybody?
You can't make that stuff up.
Well,
Amp
you
it
could.
up.
You're pretty creative, Chris, and you tend to lie a lot, so I feel like...
Lie? I don't lie.
Well, hey, I love that one. I don't lie.
Hey, well, welcome in, everybody. We're so glad you're here. Where have you been? Today is the launch of our AMP colors to the public on our website. That link that I just shared right there is where you can get those at monumenthobbies.com.
For those of you that are new here, my name's Jason, and there's only one person on this show. I'm just also a very good ventriloquist.
That's right. He puts Jeff Dunham to shame. Welcome. It's me, Jason Craze. Hee hee. Heidi ho. Welcome in, Raiders. Hee hee hee. There it is. He's really good at that. The world's best ventriloquist. That is... That's Jason right there. The bottom view is... Oh, my gosh.
The butt view?
The butt view?
Like, Scraps,
the bottom view?
Scraps isn't a boy dog, so... I'm not sure. We painted a model once that was a hellhound, and they were anatomically correct. And boy, did we suffer for that on stream.
Oh, my gosh.
Because whoever sculpted them was a little infatuated with Hellwang, we called it, on those.
I'm sorry.
So ever since then, it's like
Hellwang?
you got to be very careful when you're painting a steed.
Welcome in. You know, we run a tight ship around here. Speaking of Hellwangs, chat, if you're new here.
We've derailed
gosh.
Christopher.
Sorry. No. Oh, chat, I can't wait till tomorrow to where I get my little choo-choo whistle.
Oh, is it coming tomorrow?
It's coming tomorrow. Okay. It's on my doorstep right now.
Oh.
Which means for an hour for when I get home, I'm going to be playing with it. Let me rephrase that. I'll be playing with my whistle.
He said that out
loud.
I
mean, I don't know what I'm saying. Welcome in, everybody. What a great day to be alive. Chris reminds me of Joffrey from A Knight's Tale. Zambies, I'll give you that one. Hey, Jason.
Sir.
For all of those tuning in, what are you doing?
I am painting up some skin for what we believe is kind of an undead horse. But the horse has T-Rex arms as well as his other 4 legs, and only 2 of them have hooves, so yeah. Your guess is as good as mine. But we're painting this guy. And we're doing it by underpainting, which is a familiar term for people that watch me paint a lot. I tend to like to do flesh by using colors that start... Imagine if you took the skin off of a thing, what would you be left with? You'd be left with the muscle, the gristle, the fat, the organs, right? Those colors I tend to want to paint first because skin, on most creatures, you can imagine, other than elephants and rhinos, things that have really thick hide... The skin is a translucent organ, right? You can see through it. And so the colors of skin are largely influenced by what's underneath the skin. And in terms of starting, we have a bunch of videos on, I think the most recent was when we underpainted Antonio El Tigre's face, right?
Yep.
So we underpainted the same thing, doing flesh tones, starting with purples and reds that you can see in the shadows and the midtones. And then bright yellow green is one of my favorite colors to use. And that would be for the highlight areas and the places that have more fatty tissue underneath. And so we did the same thing here, minus the red. We used royal purple, yellow green, and bright yellow green. And then we used green gray, which is one of our new colors from the AMP. Gray green.
Gray green, yep.
Gray green over the top of it with the airbrush as a filter, right? And so that filter allows those purples and greens to show through, so it gives you that kind of zombified, had been buried under the ground, dead flesh that is really cool, especially in a monster way, So that's what we're doing. And right now we're using bright warm gray, which is one of our original base set colors, as a highlight. So it's very few colors, very simple to do, but gives you a really, really cool effect that makes you look like like you spent much more time on the project than you actually have.
Wow.
And you'll hear me say it a lot. I'm a lazy painter, so I'm always trying to find ways to cut corners to success. And this is one of the best ways, is by learning how to filter and things like that. So we just are showing people how to move around that world, utilizing your brush as a amazing tool to get us there, but not having to be, overly daunting in the way that we apply the paints. I'm very sensitive to the fact that newer painters and people that come into the hobby may not always know the terms that are being thrown around. So it's really just about controlling the consistency of the paint on your brush. How thin is it? What does that thinness of paint do to its opacity, which then leads to vibrancy and intensity of color? And how can you use all of that to your benefit with every brush stroke, right? So if you've come to the right place, if you're trying to level up your painting skills and become very efficient and understanding of what it takes to get there, there's no secrets here, chat. So feel free to ask questions. If you're new around here, welcome. We are Monument Hobbies. We manufacture pro acrylic paints right here in our Phoenix headquarters location where we're broadcasting from. Sunny Arizona, my friends.
That's right. Mountain Standard Time, 2 to 4
Mountain
p.m.
Standard, that is a thing that nobody knows what that is.
That
when
is
we
not
tell them, they laugh at us like...
That's not an oil company.
Yeah.
That is a time zone in the United States of America.
Yes, it is.
And,
I like it, chat. Let's do some metal. Let's do some metal. I want to start with magnesium, because I just think it's my favorite metal color. Magnesium and dark bronze are my favorite metal colors.
I would have to...
And magnesium is my favorite because magnesium looks great underneath silver and or gold, so I can use this as a way to not commit to which color armor I'm doing right now. That's how that works.
It's the year of non-metallic gold going into true metallics. Get ready.
Yeah, well, somebody mentioned if we do true metallic metal on this, and I have no problem with that.
I think that'd be cool.
I don't do it a lot. Around here, we typically do a lot of non-metallic metal, so most of what you'll see me do is, I can pull any model off the shelf right now. Yeah, I think I can see one...
You have a lot of non-metallic. Well, but that's what you like. That's what
2,
you also prefer.
3, 4 that are done with true metallic metal. Yeah, I just don't do a whole lot of true metallic metal. We usually do non-metallic metal where we're using the difference in value between colors, bright and dark, to give the illusion of shine on models to create those textures. That's my preferred way of painting, so not using metallics, because metallics rely on the light in the room to give the effect, because they're reflecting light as metal would. But it means that I can't really create a image in my painting that always stays the same. This highlight on this guy's armor is always going to be the same spot whether I turn the model upside down or not, right? Yeah. So it's never going to change. The bottom of this model will always be dark because that's how I put the shadows, and the top will always be brighter because that's how I painted it. If I did it with metallic colors, when you turn it upside down, the bottom becomes bright because the reflection is now on the bottom and the top becomes dark. So anyway, It's just a preference thing. So most of what you'll see me paint is non-metallic metal, but we love using true metallics. We make some of the best metallic paints out there, so... We should show them off more, Chris. Jeez, I wish you'd let me.
I like metallics.
I wish you'd let me. I wish you'd stop making me paint non-metallic gold. Isn't that right, chat? Jeez.
That is not. That
Can we
is
get some
not me.
F's in chat for Chris and his elation with non-metallic gold?
No. Wow. We're back. No. It's not good.
Hey, if you're new around here, you should F up just to piss off Chris. So
Great. No, there's questions.
there you go. See,
No.
this is all Chris's fault.
Oh.
You don't know how
I'll
much
take the
stress Chris takes home with him at night, wondering if we're being real or not.
No, I don't. I turn it off, chat. I have learned to turn it off.
He comes in my office and cries. He's like, you know what? When I signed up for this, I didn't know I was going to be being made fun of all day.
You know what? I will take the slings and arrows.
The slings and arrows.
Of the mighty chat.
Taking one to the knee, Chris. One to the knee.
No, we will never paint my nails, chat. I won't stand for it.
You can sit.
Maybe. Would you use the approach from painting? Oh, here's a question from Source. Thank you, Source, for keeping me on track. And hey, once tomorrow hits, I will have a very good segue for every time I say that. And I cannot wait.
Oh my gosh, chat, we're doomed. It's going to be like some choo-choo train thing.
It's just a classic.
Is it Thomas the Train Engine?
It's a classic wooden train whistle. Like, from yeah, it's hilarious. Would you use this approach when we're talking about underpainting from painting an army quickly? Underpainting, I mean.
Sure, yeah. As a matter of fact, when you get used to it, it becomes super fast because the underpainted layers get to be really sketchy. If you've watched me do it, if you go back and watch any of the videos of me doing it, like even this horse, what you'll notice is that it allows you the freedom to apply those colors very haphazardly. You don't have to spend a lot of time on blending. You just slap them on in the areas you think. If you put your dark color where the shadows are, you put the mid-tone on most of the model, you highlight it at the top spots, it doesn't have to blend because the filter blends. Pop in real close.
Yeah.
I wish we could take you back to when I was painting this, but like the way the purples and the greens went together was really sloppy, big chunky brush strokes. And then when I filtered the green gray over the top, it blended all of that because it defocuses your brush strokes by putting paint over the top and really just makes it about color and not about dimension at that point. And so then you can go back in and you get what looks to be very clean blends, and you can be as sketchy or not as you like. So that speeds up the process, right? And then the filter is just getting good at that. And if you can do it with the airbrush like we did with this horse, airbrushing that filter and you can do a whole army super quick and wind up with really, really bitchin' colors. That's the way we did our Death Guard. Right? The Death Guard that we did, I think I might only have the Dreadnought here. I don't think we have any of the other guys. But this Dreadnought, all of these colors, now this has been nooshed for the weathering, but all of the body colors were done that way. They were underpainted and then airbrushed over the top for the bruised white. We have a methodology for that on the site. And the methodology shows you. And that whole army, it was airbrushed dark purple. Then it was airbrushed jade in a zenithal. And then over the top of the jade, we did light umber, which gave it it was awful look. It looked like a turd, right? And then we went over it with olive flesh as a filter. So you have brown, jade, and purple, which you'd never use together. And then you did olive flesh over the top, and it gives you this bruised white that gives you this really intense, bruised, shadow color, kind of a greenish yellow tint to it because of the browns and the jades. And so while being white, it also looked really good for Death Guard. And that was done in that whole army. We could do like squads at a time and they go super fast.
Forever After, thank you for that sub. 10 months. Okay, so going off of our amp colors, Derpstick has a question. Still don't know if I should get the magenta and Payne's Gray washes. Would the regular paints be good enough, or should I get the washes as well to use them in different ways?
The washes come pre-mixed and easy to use. The washes are basically the same as you would get if you use the glazed wash medium and water to make them out of the initial paint. So you could take dark magenta and Payne's Gray and do them on your own. So there's no reason that you have to buy them. It's really just a matter of if you think you would benefit from the ease of use. Is that a fair way to put it for you?
I think that's pretty clear and concise.
Yeah. And that's really what it is. That's what it's about.
It's the tool and the use case,
For me, they're valuable because, again, of the speed at which I can deploy them. I can just grab the wash, thin it to the way I want, put it on there, paint with it how I want, and it makes it super easy.
Yeah.
Right.
The paint, I have started to replace all washes. Actually, I've started to wash a little less, but I've replaced all my black wash with Payne's gray wash just for fun, just to give it more life, you know?
Yeah.
Just that little extra blue. I haven't been washing as much as of late.
I can smell that.
Oh, that means two things.
I can tell. I can tell, Chris.
I'm a clean man.
I can tell, Chris.
I'm a clean man.
I've been meaning to talk to you, Christopher, about your bathing habits, about
good.
your washing habits, Christopher. I have to be stuck in a room with you.
Hey, I'm a good washer.
For hours at a time, Chris. Hours at a time. I'd like for you to think about somebody other than yourself for once.
I'll get some aromatherapy in here.
Some essential oils.
Yeah, I could do that for us.
Okay, good.
Really get us back to center.
I love how you say you'll do it for us.
We'll do it for we, the people.
Oh,
we,
God,
the chat. Here's a question. How should I thin the Pro-Acryl wash? Water or the medium?
Water. I mean, you can thin with the medium, too. The medium will keep it thicker, right? So if you're trying to paint specifically with it, like if you want to use the wash as a pinpoint filter, you want to can we pop in one?
Yeah.
This model's so small that we're not really getting anything if we're not in closer.
Yep.
So I feel like it's kind of for me, I use water because I'm generally looking for the wash to be very low viscosity and kind of run around the model easier. But if you'd like to just, have it stay where you put it, then using the glazed wash medium could be very beneficial. I'm painting this metal on here and realizing I probably should paint some of his skin first. I'm seeing a lot of skin layered underneath the armor here. But we'll just keep going, chat, because that's the kind of guy I am. Breaking the law, breaking the law.
Breaking the law. Hey, break the rules, not the law.
I have no idea what that means.
Not many people do. It's just, I heard Arnold Schwarzenegger say that once. Break the rules, not the law.
Well, that shows you a lot about that guy.
Oh, good old Arnold, the barbarian. Hey, welcome in, everybody. If you are just now tuning in, welcome. Where have you been? If you came in via the raid or you just happened to stumble upon us, today we released our new AMP colors to the public. You can check them out in that link right there. And they're live right now.
Live, not alive. Right,
they're live.
Magnesium is such a nice color.
It is.
Like, it's almost like you don't have to do anything to it. Like, you just paint magnesium and call it a day.
Yes, it is. It is very, very easy.
I love this guy's
it's an easy color.
Plague doctor type helmet that he's got going on here. It's like a mosquito.
Can you show that a little bit more on center for us, Jason?
No.
Please. Oh, yeah, it does. Yes, right? He does.
It's like a mosquito.
He's very cool. Is it possible to run Gentastic's brush group through the airbrush? You could spritz Christopher occasionally if it becomes an issue.
Oh,
I see.
Maybe for that.
We'll do it for science.
I'll do that for science.
I'll do anything for science.
I'll do anything for science. Wait.
What? Wait a second.
Wait, what?
We'll do it live. Kringle Masushi. Yep, that's me. Kringle Masushi. You can take that to the bank, chat.
Schmant, schmant.
Hey, we're using magnesium. And when I mean we, I mean we the people.
Oh my God.
We are using
this is how he gets under my skin right here.
I'm not trying to get under his skin, but Jason, if you all are just now tuning in and are new here, we the people are actually you the people, the chat. You are the waves beneath our boat. I am the the
Chad, I will
lowly
have you know that he likes
skipper.
to come into my office and tell me what a great analogy this is.
It's a great analogy.
He's like, this is the best analogy. Everybody in chat gets it. I don't know what you are having a problem with it for. This is how he talks to me.
This is it's a great analogy because we don't know where the waves are going to go. There could be like a rough one really quick, but then guess who keeps us on track? You 50% of the time, me most of the time. And I have to be the person, the skipper, who looks at the map and blows his little train whistle, which is a little suggestive every time I say it. Anyway, I tries to run a tight ship, Ghost Hunter. No, this is a tight ship. So for all of you worried about us ever getting derailed, I would never see the day. Everybody get behind me now.
I would like to have everybody refer back to April 1st.
No.
When a particular Christmas
I
sushi
was
pretended
here.
to be me on
False.
stream
Not even a
and then
real
did
thing.
some sort of puppet thing.
No, I lost my mind. If you all want to see where I lost a little bit of my mind, there you go. And by the way, when I mean me, I mean Jason, because Jason was on stream that day.
Chat.
I was too. I was in my typical
I
spot.
hope you can see what's happening here, chat. This gaslighting has got
man.
to end. You shouldn't stand for being treated this way by anyone, chat.
That's right.
Least of which a person who professes to love you as much as Chris does.
What? Oh, I love the chat. I love the slings and arrows that I receive, and I like it. I'm happy to entertain the people. The people.
He does talk about Little Billy quite often.
Oh,
so.
little Billy, I'm coming for you. In the dark deep of the night.
He does talk a lot about this Little Billy
this
guy.
little Billy, the bane of my existence. April 1st was the best video work Chris has ever done. He sounded so much better. I don't know what you're talking about, TK421. I was in this chair.
That was Gabe.
What? Gabe was out of town.
I think what they're saying is that Chris was the best
No.
Chris they've ever experienced, but what they're really saying is that was Gabe.
No,
That's
don't
what I'm
know.
hearing.
Gabe's no
Chat,
longer.
is that what I'm hearing?
Gabe's no longer with us.
Gabe's no longer
Rest in
with
peace,
us.
Gabe.
Rip Gabe.
He is out there in the ether of Monuments Hall of Fame, along with Babe Ruth and
Babe Ruth worked here?
I
didn't even get a signature.
Babe Ruth worked at Monument Hobbies. That's
We used to have him at the booth back in the day.
Ghost Hunter.
He was our booth babe.
Booth Babe. Oh.
Dun 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 dun.
And little Billy coming in from left field. Babe Ruth. That's hilarious. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. You only get one.
I apologize, Chad. If it's your first day here, I really apologize.
I see. If I had my little train whistle, I'd get us back on track.
If this is your first time viewing the stream, I can only apologize.
I've lost it.
We are very, very professional when
right.
Chris isn't here.
No, what? I am business Chris. You're right. Let's get this train back on the tracks. Business Chris is here. Jason, what are you doing?
I'm painting, Chris. I have been painting the whole time while you've been trying to derail us. I'm working.
You're using magnesium, one of our many metallic colors, one of our favorites if we had to choose. Somebody just asked, going up a little bit, if you had to pick some top favorite amp colors. Jason, you can only pick 3.
What?
That's right.
No.
1, 2, 3, and go?
No.
What?
I'm not going to do that, Chris.
Why not?
I don't pick favorites.
You
know
to.
this. You
What if
know the rules, Chris.
What if the doctor said you have to pick 3 to live?
I guess this is the big one, Chet. I'm not doing it.
You can only pick
I'm not
3
caving.
to live. I don't know why
I don't negotiate with terrorists.
I don't know why the doctor would ever tell you that. But
pick
in my
3.
weird world, the doctor comes up to you like, you have to only pick 3 amp colors. What are they? Jason, HBC craze.
What is HBC?
I'm just making up crap. Pick 3.
I'm not doing it, Chris.
You have to.
I don't have to do
My
anything.
goodness. See what I have to deal with, chat?
I like all 18 equally. All of my children are my favorite.
Oh, wow. Someone needs to clearly lay off the tap water. Yeah. I don't drink the tap water. If I started doing that, we'd get nothing done. I'd be a little prospector running around here drinking the tap water. Where does slate gray land in the lineup of grays? Dark cool gray? Question mark. Where does
yeah,
it
kind
land?
of.
Well, it typically
give me a second. I'll pull it out and show you.
It typically lands in the amp set.
He thinks that's funny, chat. He
Oh, no,
thinks
it's a
that's
fact.
funny.
Game delay. Jason harassed by Christopher Craze. That game delay. Many points for you. That you caught up there. HBC Craze. Oh, wow.
Harassed by Chris.
There you go.
Is that what that's supposed to be?
I guess so.
Oh,
I
jeez.
guess so now. King Liar over here. He has favorites. Yeah, Jason does. And they're called
you hush.
Dark Purple.
You hush. That could be true.
Don't you talk about my Dark Purple that way.
That could be true. I might get violent if somebody says something negative about Dark Purple. So I might love them all equally. I might protect them selectively.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you, chat.
Ooh, here's a good question.
God, that's a great color.
Would Jade or Royal Purple be good for underpainting dark gray 30K wolves?
Dark gray 30K wolves. Jade or what was the other one?
Royal Purple. Underpainting.
It's hard to put myself away from purple as a shadow because it does such a good job of cooling off, but gray being a neutral, and if you're going with like blue grays and stuff, then I think the jade, like a dark jade, could be real neat, or like a deep, like dark sea ben, right? Something like that could be really cool. All of those are in that same kind of realm. So I think dark jade would be my preference there. That could work really and be really cool, actually. Cool, I think. Somebody was asking about slate gray, right?
Somebody was asking about where does slate gray fit in the line?
Kind of like it is a great combo with cool gray.
Yeah.
So as a dark cool gray, I think it works really well. It is more blue, which is why we went with slate gray. The cool gray is just a slight tinge of blue. This is really more of a blue, the slate gray.
Yeah.
But they work great in combo with one another.
That color combo right there is really good.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, absolutely awesome. It's what we did the sword for what's his nuts in? What did we just paint?
You painted that Spartan guy for that one.
Oh, the Spartan guy. I don't have the model because I had to give it back to the company.
I took a picture
I had to give it
of
to
that
Catalyst
in the case
Labs
for you.
Okay, good.
Terrence Watkins, here's a very good question. Very simple.
I'm going to drink some
question.
water.
Oh, that's straight vodka, everybody. Terrence Watkins, can you explain cold versus warm colors?
Yeah.
That's
the concept is your warmest color is yellow, right? Yellow's orange, right? As you move into that, reds in that sector are what we call warm. So if you add yellow to anything, it warms that color up. Think of it in those terms. So magenta and yellow give you the reds, reds and yellows to oranges, right? And then obviously just center yellows, and then yellows and greens to yellow greens, things like that, yellow and blue to green. So you start pulling into the warmer side there. It doesn't mean that all reds are warm. They are kind of intentionally, but if you look at like black red, right? Black red is by its very nature a cooler red because of the desaturation of it. When you start adding, when you start to tint, tone, and shade things with white, gray, and black, it tends to cool them off as you desaturate them, regardless of the color. Now, if you were to desaturate all colors equally, they would still have warm and cool versions, but an overall way to cool a color down, if it's too warm, is to desaturate it with grays, blacks, and even whites. But then you start looking at the cool spectrum, which is things that trend more blue. Okay. So, obviously like our white blue, as a good way to look at it, right? It's a very cool version of white, right? So this would be something that you would highlight, like when we were doing the polar bear warrior, instead of using white, To do the highlight for the fur, to make white fur, we use white blue and then blue undertones to give him a very cool wintry feel for his pelt. And then the warmth of the oranges and such in the gold counterbalances that and gives a nice kind of teeter-totter effect visually, as opposed to if you start cooling off your entire palette, it makes it, more frigid if you're going to put him out in the ice. But even then, having the gold on there gives a really nice contrast. And I chose to do the gold, unlike most of my gold, where I start with cooler greens, right? And do my gold this way. I do this as more of a, it's almost like more of a fake gold, like 24 karat gold plated or something, less yellows, and more into that deep orange feel. So it could be, copperish almost, but it gives it a warm trend. And so if I'm doing models that have a lot of, this is actually a really good way to show this off. If I'm doing models that have a lot of blue to them, then I'll want to put some warmth on the model to balance it out so that it doesn't just look frigid, because that gives maybe the wrong connotation. This bear could be anywhere. His fur just makes it feel like I've placed him in the Arctic because it's cold blues. But I could paint this rock mossy green and put palm fronds on here and it would still work. It would just be a kind of a weird dichotomy. It'd be like, wow, why is that polar bear in the jungle? But it could work, right? So I tend to balance it out with warmth. Now, if I'm painting something that's overall warm because of reds, then I tend to want to cool it off with like things like my shadow is Payne's Gray here, right? So my Payne's Gray shadow keeps it from being just dark red, medium red, red. It means it's dark blue almost for the shadow, right? And then into what I've used here is dark plum, which is also a cooler red. And then my warm red is just the pyro red on the top and the highlights. So the red armor itself goes from a cold shadow or a cool shadow to a warm highlight, and that bakes in that balance. So then the model, like if I'm doing demon flesh or something, it makes it have more interest than just lots of red. It just feels almost too overwhelming. If I were doing Imperial Fists for Space Marines, I would probably want to start with like a neutral brown as a shadow, as opposed to something warm, because they're all yellow anyway. And so if they're all yellow in a very warm color palette, to do a warm undertone for it can be too much when the whole army is that way. But painting yellow like that, if it's just one shoulder plate, can be really cool to have an orange underlayment and then bright yellow, and then the rest of the armor could be like Ultramarines blue, right? So those can work really well. So it's always a balancing act. It's not something where you have to do 50-50. Even just the blue on the lightning claw here helps balance out all the warmth on this model. The fact that I do the gold with those greens, those tarnished greens, cools off the red too, even though it's, it's gold, so it's yellow. So all of that helps out a lot. The white. So a lot of times in my color choices, just little spot colors that are cool or warm to offset the main palette help a lot to just keep it visually centered. Because the brain doesn't like overly much of any one color. It tends to be monotonous, right? So monochrome stuff tends to be boring. And you have to look at other things. Like watching a black and white film is boring unless the action in it is over the top, right? And so they've got to do something else to create interest if you strip color away. And so the same thing can happen in any color palette. If you do it all in reds, if you do it all in blues, right, it can become boring. So throw in a balancing act that gives it a little bit of warmth and life to it.
Hey,
does that help?
I think you, and thank you for that TED Talk.
That was my TED Talk.
Colds and warms. How Ghost Hunter is asking, how does slate gray relate to gray blue?
I will show you.
Oh, good.
Great question.
Hey, great question.
Slate gray and then gray blue, right?
Oh, wow, yeah.
Could also be slate gray could be the shadow for that. I mean,
highlight.
Remember that slate gray, as you notice it with the blues, is a gray, right? It's not a blue. It is a very bluish gray, but unlike the way we name our paints with like dark gray blue, is a blue.
Yeah.
So the way we name our paints is that dark gray are the adjectives, it's a blue.
Yeah.
Right? So they are just a desaturated blue. It's not as vibrant a blue as, say, ultramarine, because that's just blue. Notice how this is desaturated. This has gray in it that takes the vibrancy away. It's like I was talking about, right? It desaturates the color by putting grays in it. So dark gray blue, still a very blue color, but very desaturated as opposed to something that's a full single pigment ultramarine. right? Yeah. And then same thing with gray blue. It's still a blue. It's just been desaturated a little bit, okay? Versus, say, blue, right? And so when you have your slate gray, it would be a great complement to any of these because of its bluish tone.
Yeah.
So you could mix it in. It'd be a great mixer to darken any of these up or to desaturate them more because it would keep it kind of on center with the bluishness of it. But you put it up there and it almost doesn't look blue at all when you put blue next to it. But then if you take it and you put it next to a green, the blue starts showing up more, right? So interesting when you see them that way, but they're all very different colors.
I've seen people use cool colors from warm base tones, example, purple shadow for the red robe, but does it work the other way? Warm shadows for cool base tones?
Heck yeah. It's funny because I say that you should use purple for the shadow for everything except purple. And for purple, I tend to use dark blues. Now, if you're going to paint something that is super cool in nature, you could do something like dark plum as a shadow. Or the dark purples for blue work really well because the reddish nature of the purple makes it a warm shadow and a cool base, right? Yeah. So that's why I love purple so much, and we talk about that a lot. Purple as a shadow goes both directions. When you use it, sometimes if you're using a warm color as your final, the shadow being dark purple means that the blue shows through more, right? And that blue cools it off. But purple is blue and red. So as depending on the, like with ours, like our dark plum, right, is more red, but it's still kind of a purpley, right? Same with burgundy, right? Burgundy can be used because it's a red, but it's also a purple, right? Or a bluish red. And so if you use it underneath a blue, it's going to get the benefit of blending in well because it's bluish in its nature, but the warmth of the red is going to give you a really cool effect. So yeah, you can do warm shadows. Warm shadows are going to turn your brain on its head because that's not how darkness works in our brain. Our brain thinks of darkness as being cold, right? It's just the way it works, right? At night it gets cold. Anytime you're in shade, it's cooler than in the sun. So you're tied into where darkness equals cooler. So that's why it's easy to move that way. But it can be a really, really cool look on cool colored models like ultramarines to do them with like a burgundy or dark purple shadow and let the warmth of those colors show through and give it a really neat balance. You know, I don't have him up here, right?
Who are you looking for?
The Death Company, the other Blood Angel that's black.
Oh, I think they're in that office. I don't know which.
So with our Death Company for the Blood Angels, the Death Company are painted with black armor, obviously, but I use the same colors. The black is done with Payne's Gray. The shadow is done with the dark plum that you see here on the inner thigh, right? That dark plum color is what I used as a shadow for them so that it all pulled it together. Since the Death Company doesn't really have any red except for like the X on the shoulder plate, yeah. I didn't use any red, but I used the dark plum to tie it together so they felt cohesive as an army as opposed to red and black, right? Do the shadows on the black armor as the reddish color from the rest of the army, and then do the Payne's Gray, that is the color I painted the black armor with, as the shadow for the rest. And now you've got a color that's cohesive, even though your brain doesn't really register it. It just makes it feel better. It's funny how the psychosomatic, right? The psychology of color works in that way. That if you have these things that are close together that share portions of the palette but flipped upside down, you won't notice it. Oh, I just see you put the red in the shadow and the blue in the shadow on these and turned it over and all that. When you do it right, it just feels like they're meant to be together. It's like we talked about when painting a unit. Yeah. Use the color green for the shirt on half of the army and pants on the other half. And then when you do the shirt blue on the half that had green pants and blue pants on the half that had green shirts, they all feel like they're supposed to be together, but you've noticeably just flipped the colors and how you use them. It lets you paint faster, but make every model feel more unique. You can do that same thing with just your color choice for shadows and highlights.
How does a green shadow differ from purple as a shadow? Seems like it would function in a similar way as a neighbor to blue, but haven't tried it much.
Does green as a shadow differ from purple as a shadow? So green can lend to being cooler as well because of the blue component and the yellow component. So very much like purple. Green has a very, talking about psychological effects of color, green looks ill. It gives things the feeling of mossy, mildewy, gross, wet, sickly. Purple can do the same, right? Too much purple in your flesh makes it look bruisey. Purples and yellows can give that sickly feel. So green can do great. Just think about what it's going to tell you, right? Yeah. It can cool off the shadow, and it can be really neat. I like green as a shadow for oranges, believe it or not. It works really well. But think of a pumpkin that you based green and then painted orange over the top. It's going to look like it's starting to rot in the shadows because of the green.
Yeah.
So, you know,
it's fresh. Like it's just freshly
It could
grown.
be if you're doing that, like with bananas and things like that. Doing green under yellow could give you that feel if you're painting bananas or something like that. So you just have to think in terms of what the brain is going to see from that green being there. I like green in the shadows for anything that I'm doing wood. Start with a very dark camo green and then build your browns over it because it gives life. It makes it seem like the wood still has time to grow, as opposed to when you use all browns, it can feel dead, right? So that can work in a natural sense. Green as an underlayment for stone makes it feel mossy, right? Makes it feel like it might be wet or slick or by a river, right? Or in a jungle. So just think about in terms of what the brain is going to see as green. But there's no reason not to use it, 100%.
Could you show us peach flesh, Jason?
I have not shown it. What do you want to see?
Just see, somebody was asking, show off pink flesh.
Peach flesh.
Peach flesh.
It's amazing. The camera is crazy because the camera makes the label and the color look way different.
Yeah, it's always something that we talk about. It's like, it's interesting because
it's not quite that different. The label is always darker, but this looks like yellow flesh versus pink, and it's not.
It's funny weird to me when I look at
yellows really throw cameras off.
This camera
color
in particular, I like Blackmagic's color science, but some colors, it's just like.
Yeah,
it
weird.
Flips it.
That's weird because I'm looking at it in the screen like you guys are seeing it. Those don't look anything the same, but when you see it,
yeah, that's true.
It's just a lighter version of the label.
There's a lot.
Color.
I've got the
print. It's always hard because the print is always going to be more saturated than the actual color of paint.
It's one of the big.
But the camera is not seeing it right at all. It's crazy.
That's like with our fluoros too. Hey, Jason, it is time.
Well, I'm going to show this real quick, so you're going to have to just stick it out for a second.
Oh.
You're going to have to hang out for a second. Let me show you next to like tan flesh, because tan flesh is kind of the...
I moved it to your palette if you needed to show.
No, I'm just going to keep it on my thumb. I'm just going to keep it on my thumb. I'm going to show them just right next. Just do a little swipe next to each other. It's the easiest way to show it is next to another color.
Yeah.
Right? Because bright colors like this, and especially since a camera doesn't like it, it's not really showing you what the difference is. I don't know that it'll do much better on my skin, but against my flesh tone, it should give you a good sense of where we're talking about it. The peach flesh is another way to just give a really, really nice highlight. The peach flesh mixed in with dark flesh, advanced flesh tone. Again, a really great way to bring highlight into darker skin tones without being too pink, right? So tan flesh, right? Very pinkish, Caucasian-y. Can you pop in?
Yeah.
Right? Pinkish, Caucasian-y skin. I mean, that's almost my skin tone highlight, right? And then peach brings in a little more of that yellow, leans more into the yellow of the flesh than the red. And then you've got like warm flesh that even takes that further, right? That brightens that up even more. So when you, I don't know, they don't look as different as they are. Okay, they do it that way, right? So whereas warm flesh is all the way yellow, right? Peach flesh swings us a little bit back towards pink, and then tan flesh is all the way pink for these highlight colors. See? Does that give you a good idea?
Yeah.
So it's kind of in between warm flesh and tan flesh.
There it is. The Mo you know.
The Mo, we know a Mo.
Mo, yeah. We do. He said, suck it, Chris. Oh, he said, stick it. Yeah, Chris, stick it. What a day.
Never seen a tighter ship.
That's right. Never seen a tighter ship. I run a tight ship, chat. It is about that time.
Something like that, Christopher.
That's right.
Something like that.
Look at these beautiful links going up.
Beautiful, beautiful links. Chat, thank you so much for hanging out with us on a Tuesday. Sorry I wasn't here with you yesterday. Hope you enjoyed your time with Baby J and Christopher.
Was great.
We will be painting Dead Horse Guy throughout the week. And then when we get to a point where I feel like I've run the gamut on Dead Horse Guy, I think we're going to move to a Ghost Keel. I think we're going to paint a Tau battle suit so that I can do some content for white armor that
White
Christopher
metal,
so much wants. A lot of people are always talking about what's the best way to paint white, and it's not using white. And so I'm going to paint a Ghost Keel without using a whole lot of white.
Yeah.
But it'll look white, so it's great. Sarcastic Grandpa, thank you. Everybody that came in, if you came in on one of the raids, please hit the follow or the subscribe button if you're over on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope you've enjoyed your time here. Hope you've learned a little bit and been able to put up with Chris.
Oh!
I apologize.
That one hit home.
On all the links, make sure you check out the store. You can pick up any of our wonderful hobby goods. Thank you for supporting us throughout the years. We really appreciate it. It allows us to do these amazing shows with you every day, which we do 5 days a week, by the way. So if you are new here, make sure you do hit the alerts on button so that you can get notified. We go live 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday here in Arizona time, Mountain Standard Time, that is, in Phoenix. Join the Discord where Ghost Hunter tells us we have 5,565 amazing artists in the Discord watching Jason pull it out for us while spoonerisming a zombie horse.
That was
when you put it that way, it feels dirty. It just feels dirty. I feel like that breaks terms of service, but I'll go read them again. Marmoset Freund, thank you so much. And again, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We will be back again tomorrow throwing some paint on models again, having some fun, so we'll look forward to seeing you there. Stick around. Chris is going to find somebody to raid, so show some love in the channel we wind up in, and enjoy your evening. See you on the flip side. Adios, gang.